to be presenting the welcome speech amongst the most esteemed personalities who have won accolades in their respective fields, Dr. Assisi Menacheri and Dr. Giselle George. Before we begin this webinar, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the viewers for joining hands with us to make this webinar a successful one. Webinars are organized and conducted by Parul University to the general audience to gain insight and information that would remain effective in their discussion. For today's webinar was chosen keeping in mind the interest of the youth. I would like to introduce our guests. Dr. Assisi Menacheria. Dr. Menacheria serves as the Vice President at QMPG Industrial Certifications and Services. He has demonstrated excellence in multiple areas. His mantra is love whatever you do and enjoy the process. He is excited about whatever he does. He was a top performing sales professional in India and one among the top 50 in the world, earning multiple international awards consecutively for 3 years from US and Europe. He has conducted more than 1,150 third-party audits in 25 plus sectors in the areas of quality, environment, food safety, health and safety, and social accountability that includes manufacture of nuclear-grade uranium. He is also a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. He has conducted 97 third-party audits in the area of K-12, higher education, non-formal education, training and knowledge management in 3 countries. He also served as the Director of Hycon India Limited, Director and CEO of Horsch Remedies Limited, and Director Marketing of Zeba Lab Furnishing Private Limited. He has consulted and conducted trainings in more than 350 organizations during the past 18 years. He is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad for the full-time FDPM program, BSMED, Bharatiyar University and University of Madras. He is trained in physics, applied in clinical psychology, HRM, HRD, management, marketing, and enterprise risk management with an earned PhD in the area of emotional intelligence and managerial effectiveness. He is an astute practitioner of Sahaj Mark, a method of Raj Yoga or mindfulness practice for past 30 years. He is the author of 9 books and one is translated to European languages, 9 European languages. He has worked as an associate professor, and dean at multiple management schools. His latest 2 books, the core focus is in the area of mindfulness. He has conducted a meta-analysis of wisdom literatures of Oriental, Eastern, and Western literatures using thematic analysis and working on his 10th book on mindfulness named as Essence of Excellence. He has traveled to US, Europe, Canada, Middle East, and Far East to attend and present papers in international conferences. He has published 28 articles in peer-reviewed journals of repute. On behalf of Faculty of Commerce, Parul University, I welcome you, sir. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Giselle George. She is the wife of Dr. Menacheria, completed her graduation in education and mathematics and post-graduation in mathematics and business administration. She came out as a topper for KAU MAT entrance test with a Federal Bank Hormuz Tarakan scholarship for doing her MBA APM covering full fees. Later, she successfully completed her doctoral studies in an area, employee engagement, role of spiritual intelligence and knowledge management. Presently, she is working as a faculty in the area of quantitative techniques and organizational psychology. She is an author of 4 books, half a dozen research papers, and attended or presented papers in international conferences in Switzerland, India, and Malaysia. She is working on her next book, The 7 Spiritual Laws to Face Failures. I welcome you, ma'am. Part 1 of this webinar was graced with positive feedbacks from students and other migrants. I ensure the second part of the webinar will be profitable and fruitful for everyone present here. Before I invite our speaker to address all of you, let's have a quick recap of part 1 of the webinar. The first session commenced with a video to kindle interest on mindfulness. We discussed about the basic concepts of mindfulness and concluded that mindfulness means to be conscious and to be aware. Consciousness and awareness are the 2 words often used interchangeably about mindfulness. We discussed about the transactional levels of learning, briefed about the cycle of aptitude or competence livelihood. We also gave a skill building session using a psychometric inventory. Further, we discussed about the existential or absolute levels of learning. Moreover, we gave a skill transfer session to experience what is existence by asking questions related to present, past, and future. We discussed about 5 C's of scarcity mentality and how human beings are conditioned to demonstrate scarcity mentality and about its relationship with learning. The 5 C's are following: competition, complaint, criticism, comparison, and contention. Further, we gave an introductory note on SQ3R and suggested to do as an exercise. I now request Dr. Giselle George, ma'am, to take the charge of the session.
Good afternoon, all. Well, Madam Straya has rightly mentioned in her recap about SQ3R learning. Now, let me ask you, how many of you have done the assignment which was given in the last session? Can you please write your names in the comment box? I'll wait for a few seconds. Please write those who have done the assignment, their names in the comment box. Well, I can see only a few names there. That's fine. I may tell you, this is a challenge faced by most of the teachers and even the learners too. Now, let me start the session by explaining about experiential learning. To learn a skill or a competence, we need to practice it. Unless and until one keeps doing again and again, he cannot master a skill. Let us look at a toddler. How does he start walking? It is not in a day or two he started walking. The baby first tries to stand with the help of a support. Then he stands without a support. Then start to take a few steps by holding his mother's hand or someone else's. Once he is confident enough, he tries to take few more steps without any support. And all of you pretty well know that each and every step the baby takes, he might have fallen many a times. He might have got small aches or wounds. But he is determined. He wants to walk. He try, and for n number of times he will try. And at last he wins. He starts to walk by himself without any support. Thus, the baby learns the skill of walking. The baby has transformed into a new human being with a new learned skill called walking. So, the point here I want to emphasize is that it is practice that matters in skill building. It is practice that makes you a new human being through an experience. Well, if someone wants to be competent in doing problems of accounting or mathematics, or someone wanted to be a sprint runner like Usain Bolt or Carl Lewis, or someone wants to be a master in cooking, he has no doubt to practice and practice and practice endless number of times, thus mastering a new skill through experience. Experience or practice transform individuals. Once the experience has happened, he becomes a new human being. Now, take the case of a boy and a girl. The moment they get married, the status of being a bachelor comes to an end. Now they are married individuals. Once they went through the experience of marriage, they are no longer a bachelor. The experience, marriage, has transformed them into new individuals called married couple. There is no going back into their previous status called bachelor. And they cannot undo marriage. Only they can divorce and get separated. But even then, they cannot become a bachelor. They can be only a divorcee who once went through the experience of marriage. Thus, experience brings about an absolute transformation in individuals where there is no going back, whereas theoretical knowledge won't bring a transformation in individuals. Let me give you a few more instances. After learning how to ride a horse or how to swim, an individual has transformed into a new one who now knows how to ride a horse or how to swim. Thus, an experience or a practice or doing an action transforms or renews an individual. This transformation or renewal cannot happen with cognitive learning, and that's why we say that experiential learning is absolute. Now let me try to give you an insight about SQ3R learning. I doubt some of you might be practicing it without knowing that they are following a scientific method of learning. It is a cognitive learning method consisting of 5 stages of steps. They are S for survey, Q for question, the first R represents read, and the second one recite or retrieve, and the final R represents review. It was introduced by Francis P. Robinson, who was an American education philosopher. This method tries to convert comprehensive cognitive learning to activity oriented learning, and it introduces 5 stages for learning to limit passive learning. This method of learning promotes active learning through activities. The first step in this method of learning is to survey. See, every learner has the tendency just to read the material he has given to learn, which means the learner is involved in passive learning only. The learner should resist this temptation or this tendency to read the paragraph or chapter. Instead, he must go through and note down major themes, sub-themes, and information in the form of tables, graphs, and figures. This will provide the learner with an outline or framework of what is to be learned. Also, the learner identify ideas and formulate questions about the content. Let's try to skim and survey the following paragraph, and the paragraph reads as follows. To be mindful means to be aware and to be conscious. The word awareness and consciousness are used interchangeably to explain about mindfulness. Mindfulness, which is happening at the psychological level, includes knowing one's own interest and the learner's likes towards what is being learned. Whether the learner love or like the subject. It's like how far one love and like the subject that he or she learn. If he or she likes or loves, what is the reason, and so on. Further, mindfulness at the psychological level is whether learner is competent enough to learn the subject and whether do he or she have the aptitude. It's like what is the rigor of the course, what is the IQ requirement to learn the subject, does the learner have any basic background knowledge about the subjects, and so on. Next comes which program the learner wants to study and what are its opportunities, and whether the job or the program it offers after its completion has got any challenges, or is there any associated occupational health and safety hazards. By opportunities we mean whether the learning provides him or her adequate job opportunities so that he can earn his livelihood. We will learn later in the program that the object of learning is appropriate functioning, as advocated by Dr. Alport, a famous American psychologist, that whether the learner can express him or herself in a unique way to the fullest. Finally, whether the learner is aware one has to meet with any challenges while expressing oneself. There are many types of challenges such as ethical challenges, confusion, anxiety, inability to unlearn, challenges while working with a team, and so on. So that is the paragraph all about. After reading this paragraph and doing survey, the learner might note down the following themes and sub-themes, and I have done it for you. The first theme happens to be mindfulness, and the second theme is about the meaning of mindfulness at the psychological level. And under this main theme, there are some sub-themes coming, and they are the interest and learner's love or like towards learning, aptitude and competence to learn, opportunities after learning, possibilities for job after learning, and possible challenges the learner has to face. And the next main theme is object of learning, and there is a sub-theme coming under this main theme, that is appropriate functioning, expressing oneself in a unique way to the fullest. And theme 4 is about the challenges in expressing oneself, and there is a sub-theme, that is the ethical challenges, confusion, anxiety, inability to unlearn, etc. Now we move on to our next step, that is question. Based on the previous step, that is survey, the learner now has to generate questions. Here the learner can convert the themes and sub-themes or the headings or subheadings into questions. He can find the answers to these questions from the content itself, thus engaging the learner in active learning. The learner may also go for other general questions such as, what is this paragraph or chapter about? What question is this chapter trying to answer? How does this information help me? And based on the paragraph that we have already read, the questions can be generated as follows. What is mindfulness? What is mindfulness at the psychological level? What is appropriate functioning? What are the challenges while expressing oneself? What are the 5 perspectives of mindfulness at the psychological levels? Now the third step, which is named as read. You might be remembering our first step, that is survey. There the learner was surveying the given content in a passive mode only. But in this step, that is read, the learner starts to read the content actively by keeping in mind the work done with the step survey, that is S, and question, that is Q. While engaging in active reading, the learner is trying to get answers to the questions he generated in the previous step. The second R refers to retrieve or recite. The learner here retrieves or recite from his memory in a manner how he would teach another person, or how he would try to make another person understand about the information which he has learned in his own words. The learner here tries to recall from his memory. So, the listeners, please try to recall and identify the major points, that is the themes and sub-themes and answers to the questions which we have generated in the step Q. Now let me bring to your attention about an interesting graph called the forgetting curve. It tells about the amount of time you will be able to remember what you have learned, or it shows in how much time will an information that you have learned will be forgotten. For a learner who has learned about an information for the first time, he will forget the entire thing just within 3 days. But if he reviews it once, it will remain in his memory for a week. After a week's time, the learner will forget about what he has learned. If the learner repeatedly reviews, there is every chance that the learned information getting transferred to his long-term memory, and he will be in a position to better recall it at any time. So why don't we review? Thus, our final R is review. Once a learner reaches the end of the passage, review the material by repeating back to oneself in his own words. You may then repeat the process of reviewing, and the same process is repeated, enabling the learner to transform the information he has learned from short-term memory to long-term memory.
Professor Shreya, I hope you can hear me well, right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we will continue where Dr. Giselle has stopped in one of her previous slide, that is existential or experiential learning. Now, if you observe, the way we take forward this particular training program is, well, we started with transactional levels of learning where there is a give and take. Then we forwarded it into existential or experiential learning, and our thrust was on to provide a skill building session, and we have already completed 3 skills. Now, during a period of past 40 minutes, we have transferred a skill. First, the skill was to know thyself about our own interest and authenticity to learn by using a questionnaire or inventory. The second skill was to realize what is existence in the now, here and now. And third one was specifically focusing on the age group of 8th standard to a master level or even up to the level of PhD, where SQ3R learning is very much important, where whenever we learn using those activity-based stages when being applied in cognitive learning, you forget the time, you don't get bored. Usually, an individual has 21 minutes attention span once you learn theory. And after reading that, we may get bored. But when we do this as SQ3R, then we do it as an activity, as an experience the learning process go through, where the passive learning transforms to active learning. So this is where we are now. Now let's march ahead towards existential or experiential learning. Dr. Giselle has very clearly mentioned, when being asked to do a homework or an assignment last time, only very less number of students has responded in the chat box that they have did it. What happens? A teacher or a professor or a trainer can only transform the knowledge at the cognitive level, and he or she might have to carry you at the behavioral level to practice it. Perhaps if you are with me, or if it is an on-the-job training, or if you are with me and I am a trainer who teaches or who trains you in your gym, then you can be with me and I will take you forward. Otherwise, the responsibility to practice lies with the learner. Mind you, unless you practice or experience it, transformation won't happen. Transformation happens only with experiencing and practicing. Please understand that. So if it is an accounting problem, many of you want to be chartered accountants. You want to, there is a P&L account and a balance sheet. You want to, do that practice. Or if you are if you are doing a max problem, you want to do practice it. Unless you practice, you cannot transform to a new individual. Take any game, any sport, chess, shooting, yoga. Unless you play chess continuously, do it. Unless you, do shooting, unless you do practice yoga, the transformation never happens. This is the key of transformational or experiential learning. Transformation happens only by doing that particular action. And we all individuals, we only can be renewed. So we are focusing in an area of renewal stages of learning. Only we can renew once we practice it. So I cannot practice it for you. I can only practice it for me. Please understand that. and practice maketh the man perfect. Hence, experiential learning exists with you once you own it. My experience will not become your experience. My experience will become a borrowed learning to you when I explain it to you. So, only existential or experiential learning is absolute. Dr. Giselle has already mentioned about the example of marriage. Once marriage happens, a new person has emerged. A bachelor has transformed to a married couple, has fallen, and the new has emerged. And can you go back? No. Even if you divorce, you are a divorcee. You are not an unmarried individual. So, similar to that, any skill or any experience transforms a person. Let us assume you commenced a business, you became an entrepreneur. Then that entrepreneurship has transformed you. That practice of entrepreneurship has made you a new person. And there is no going back now. So any experience makes someone a new person and there is no going back. That is why we say absolute levels of learning at the higher level is only experiential. So I want to just mention that point. See, you would have seen in a movie where Shah Rukh Khan, I don't remember the name of the movie, Shah Rukh Khan's boss, he rents Shah Rukh Khan to express love to boss girlfriend, not Shah Rukh Khan's girlfriend, because boss don't have time. So he assigns Shah Rukh Khan to go and hand over the flower to express all in the cordial way. But in the film, finally, what happens? The girl marries Shah Rukh Khan. So this is the interesting part of experience. So you cannot ask someone else to do the experience for you. It will be a failure. And mind you, one more thing. See, we can learn from others' experience. Okay, that is we call it as extension of corrective action of another person becomes a preventive action for you. You identified that someone has did a mistake and he faced that problem. Okay, that was his experience. So he took a corrective action so that failure doesn't happen again or that error doesn't happen again. And we can learn from that. So extension of his corrective action becomes our preventive action so that we don't go through the same problem. Okay, this happens in quality in the field of Six Sigma and quality. So preventive action. So but still we don't own the problem. In life, without experience, one can do work. But the love and like, the part of learning and the work part of learning is very much important. Others' experience may not change us because it is a borrowed experience, not owned by ourselves. And this is the speciality of experiential learning. So we may hear news something like, okay, my friend had corona. So what? It is not my learning. So what? It's not my learning. So it is his learning. He has gone through the pain. He has gone through the suffering. So in order to own it, we have to do the particular experience. We have to go through the experience. We have to practice it. Then only transformation happens to me. That is the beauty of experience. This point you please don't forget in your life till the end of your life. Practice only I can do that. Only for Dr. Giselle can do that. For you have to do it. Your teacher cannot practice for you. So once you understand something cognitively in the level of knowledge, you don't become a new person. Newness, the renewal stages only happens with practice. So with that, let me go to the next slide. We are